screen. So we were in the middle of this letter. It's called Letter Dalet here, and it's in, again, this compendium that was written, was copied in Brody, and this is the letter from Vilna to Brisk in 1772 about the Chasidim. And we saw that, again, the question is, what's really going on here? What's the fear? It's not so easy to identify the terrible things about the Chasidim. So far, there seems to be concern about them davening late, davening their own nusach, doing handstands, not putting as much effort as they should into Torah study. But obviously, what it really is a much, I think, a bigger fear. So, hein ela efes katzem ma'aseim. These that we have, listed, these are just the edge. These are just the tip of the iceberg. Echad mine elef midarkeim hamachuarim. These, what we've listed, is just, 1 in 1,000 of their disgusting ways. V'alkulam. I mean, this, sort of reeks of general prejudice. You can. It's the Al-Kulam, especially because what do they know of them, right? There's just, in Vilna, there's one minion. It's this Rabbi Isser and somebody else, what they call the Karliner minion. And clearly they're doing things differently and strange. It's not an era of, pluralism, but these are very strong words. And we saw that they even compared them to Nevi'ei Habal, which indicates idolatry, maybe a death sentence. And on all of these, when they're questioned, they give bad reasons for bad Kabbalistic reasons for their actions. Kasher hodu b'fanenu hachshudim, when they come to admit what they're doing before us. Zot roi v'nachon shetirdena, and therefore we see it fitting to. So tirdena means to put them down. It seems to evoke. There is a notion of the passage in the Gemara that talks about moridin below malin. There are certain people that if they fall into a pit, you don't rescue them. And tirdena, but then there's other people who you can sort of actively push down. And this seems to be, what they're saying. Einenu dima kanachal. I'm sorry, no, I translated wrong. Zos roi v'nachon. It is fitting shetirdena einenu dima, that our eyes should run down with tears. Knachal may ayin pogot, like a wellspring that comes from below. Yala pirza b'melua shenifratza v'nesim and over this breach that has happened. Talmud lomar asher min shamayim niskalo avanam. And there's a statement in Talmud that says about certain people from heaven their sins will be revealed. Eretz mitkomem alahem, po b'machanenu. But the earth is the place where it's being done, and where in our camp, in our town. Shahodu b'fihem acharei chipus b'chupas b'chakirat v'drisha asher asinu. That they have admitted to do these, that they do these things after we have, checked it out. Alkein banu min ha-modi'im v'lifnim l'chalachenu b'nei Yisrael kol marchokim. And therefore we are coming to spread the word before all of our brethren, the Jewish people, who are close and who are far. Right? This is the second letter that we know of that was sent. And it was sent to Brisk. Until when will this be a stumbling block before us? And if God forbid, nakru tsarimo, their pain, their difficulty that they're causing, Yanakru. Let's see what that means. Will we recognize that? It seems like modern Hebrew means will be alienated. I'm not sure exactly what this means. Yanakru that their pain will be, maybe it means spread out, where the difficulty they're causing will be spread out. And as I think there's a fear of them multiplying. Because in our state of great sin, it's already gone out what has gone out. Okay, so they have a note here that says Romo al kata Frankistim, that they here are referring to the Frankists. So there's, if that's the case, it has already spread out what has spread out. So if that's referring to the Frankists, which indeed began 15 years before this, so the Frankists were a very antinomian group, even more so than the followers of Shabtai Tzvi. In fact, they believed that you should do the opposite of everything with the Torah, because the Messiah had already come, and I guess it's comes from this idea that the Torah, that which is forbidden, will be permitted, and they would practice all kinds of forbidden things, from eating forbidden foods to orgiastic things to all kinds of stuff. The Frankists were really quite antinomian. Al korchach al kol rashi am. So that's what they're referring to. It's already spread out what has spread out, and obviously it's not reformed. It's too early for that. Al kain al kol rashi am ya'atu k'me'il, and therefore on the heads of all of our people, it should be worn like a hood, like a coat. Kinat Hashem tzvakot, a zealousness for God, and as we all have to stand up against this movement. Lashmid u'levayir, to destroy and to uproot. Ulashmiya alehem kol, and to spread the word about them. Charmot, to put them in cherem, in excommunication. Vishamtot, it's another kind of excommunication. Charifun v'gidufin, these people who we have to denigrate them. And with God's help, we will uproot and rid the Jewish people of these thoughts. And just like we uproot them from this place, may we uproot them from all the places. That they should never be remembered and they should never enter into the heart anymore. And wherever we find even a little speck of them, we have to uproot them so that they cannot root themselves. This is a language of weeds and terrible language, like if there's a little bit, they're going to multiply. And the main thing is not to pay attention to their voice and not to believe, in what they're doing. Because they are just, satisfied with abominations in their hearts. We have to destroy them like Siloni Mimeir. Not sure what that is. Ksil means a fool. Meir from light. I don't know. I wonder if Kisiloni is something else. I wonder if it's kind of bug. And upon them are said that any who come should not dwell. They should not be allowed to sit. Until Oh, sorry. Anybody who comes should not be allowed to do tshuva until they do tshuva of themselves, real tshuva. In other words, there's a fear here that they're going to be like a fourth column, that they're going to say they've done tshuva, but they really haven't. Ba'asher lefish nisbar hatuma ritzutza shebikirba. If we make clear the impurity in their that's in their midst, chelko mechamaos pihem. They, we're worried that they're going to be slick with their mouths. Behema ptichiot cherev chada l'tzudeid nefashot, and that they will have a sharp sword. Nikiot b'mishkam b'rishtam. I think this is a fear that they're going to have a kind of sharp sword to gather people. Yiflach chetz b'kerev libam ki akam el musar avil. It's a little bit hard, the language, but it sounds like there's this fear that they'll be faking it and that they'll still be doing their work. Shem hachometz. Therefore, we have to search like we're searching for chometz. Imatzam lefarer velozrer velitain chermalem. And one of the ways to get rid of chometz is to grind it up and throw it into the wind. And that's what they're saying. Lefarer means to crumble it up, to lose roar, and to throw it into the wind. Velitain chermalem, and to excommunicate them. Shalayachu shnei minim biyachad. We shouldn't allow two of them together. That they should not be mixed in with us. So here they're talking about, this is a halacha about when you have a forbidden thing mixed in with a permitted thing, that it can forbid the whole pot, right? A little bit of pork drops into a kosher pot of food, it's going to forbid the whole pot. That's the fear here, that if you have, one of them, two of them, they're going to affect the regular Jewish people and trafe everything up. Hashem yitzaref kavod signenu, and God should purify kabur signenu, that God should, this is like a smelting furnace, God should purify us like metal. Vishlachlanu neman mishichenu, and send us the true Messiah. Ela areshet v'devarei alufim. These are the words of the great ones. Rashei kitzonei avirei parnasei Israel, the heads of the city of Vilna. Uvitzir of kavod Rav Agon Hagadol. This is the key. Hamaforsam abbezentil kilatenu. And this is along with the great rabbi, the head of the Beit Din in Vilna. Uvitzir of kavod Harav Hagon. Right, the head of the Beis Din was Rabbi Avraham that we saw before, Avraham Katzenellenbogen. Uvitzir of kavod Harav Hagon Hagadol Hamaforsim Achasid Morenu Rav Eliyahu. There we are. And this, and also along with the great rabbi, the Gaon, who is well known, the Chasid, right? He is called a Chasid all the time, the Vilna Gaon. In fact, Rabbi Shneir Zalman of Liadi calls the Vilna Gaon a Chasid. Eliyahu, that's the Vilna Gaon, may his light continue to burn. So he's still alive at this point, it's 1772. V'tiv shnei kitos dayanim hayoshvim kisos l'mishpat pokulatenu. Two different groups of judges have come together to agree on this. Yom Echad, Rosh Chodesh Iyar, 1772. And you can see that Rabbi Shmuel, the Av Beis Din of Vilna, is signed on it. And you can see the second signature is the Vilna Gaon. Who else is on here? Shmuel, the son of Eliezer, Dov Ber, Yonah, Mordechai, Yosef, Yehuda, Yaakov, Betzalel, Yehuda Leib, David ben Yechiel, Elchanan, Menachem, Nachum, and Rav Agon, Rabbi Yitzchak, David, Yehuda, Yitzchak, Chanoch. Who is not on here? Who's the greatest student of the Vilna Gaon? That is Rav Chaim Volozhin, right? He takes over the yeshiva from the Vilna Gaon. Who's not on here? Rav Chaim Volozhin, right? There's no Chaim there. So that's interesting, right? It's very famous, by the way, that that the Cherem, which I'm not sure if there's another letter that's an official excommunication. I think this may be it. But that Rav Chaim Volozhin did not sign the letter, not sign the Cherem. So that is the end of letter number 4. That's the one that the Vilna Gaon is signed on. And then the next one that I want to do is number 6. And this was a letter that was written generally and against the Chasidim, and describes, it's not a very long letter, but it sort of describes in more detail what the fears are and what the actions of Chasidim are that they're worried about. Okay. So we will, you can see the fear. That's, I think, it's a little hard for us because obviously for us, Chasidim have been around for 200 years and there's a sense of legitimacy about them. So, this is a totally different world. You do see that if the phrase, they have already expanded the group, there's already a group that has expanded outward, it refers, as the note there said, to the Frankists. So then, of course, that makes a lot of sense. And again, this is right around that time. It's always an interesting question in Judaism. Religions ask us often the question of what's legitimate. It's not just a free for all. But where do you draw the lines, right? Who's in and who's out? These are very important questions. How big is the big tent? It's obviously a tremendous question for us. We have a sense that every Jew, whether they sin or not, is a Jew. Where do we draw the lines? Where do we say this is dangerous? This isn't. This is going to undermine the Jewish people. How do we know? Who should say that? Obviously, every era is so different. 1772 is extremely different than 2022. But this is not new. This what they're going through is no different than things that we experience and the questions of. In fact, right, we live in a world that's very divided, mostly over politics now. But politics and religion are very interrelated, and so we, on some level, understand what it means to feel like, that person, the other who believes different, is going to undermine everything. That's not such a foreign idea to us. Okay, have a good Shabbos, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.